Hello and welcome to my video on the knit stitch. Along with the purl stitch, the knit stitch is one of the basic foundations of knitting, and together the knit and the purl stitches can be combined to create a host of patterns and effects. For this demonstration I'm going to be using straight needles, but you can use any needles you like. The first thing you need to do is cast on the number of stitches you would like to use. You can use your preferred method for this. Make sure that the tail end of the yarn you keep out of the way during this technique. You will only be working with the working yarn, which is the yarn attached to the ball of yarn. To begin the knit stitch, you take your right hand needle and push the tip up through the top stitch on the left hand needle. You then cross that right hand needle behind the left hand needle, so you form a V shape. You then take the working yarn, take it all the way round the back of the needles. You wrap it around the back needle tip, bring it forward and then back through the V shape and down. You hold the yarn lightly onto your right needle with your fingers. You then use your left hand, the index finger on your left hand, to push that needle tip down, around and to the front, keeping the right hand needle in touch with the left hand needle the whole way around. You then push that needle off the top of the left hand needle tip, and then you get one knit stitch on your right hand needle. You simply repeat this process for each knit stitch. So you go up through the top stitch on the left hand needle and cross the needle behind. You take your working yarn and wrap it around the needle tip at the back, down through the V, hold it onto your right hand needle, then push the tip of the right hand needle down, around and to the front before pushing the stitch off the tip of the left hand needle. You may notice that sometimes I just waggle the right hand needle in between the stitches on the left hand needle. This is purely to separate the stitches, just to make it easier, but you don't have to do this. You just carry on knitting stitches all the way down until you complete the entire row. One important thing about the knit stitch that you'll need to remember for the future is that when knitting you will need to take the working yarn from the back, meaning that the working yarn will lie on the other side of the needles, furthest away from you. This is important because with the purl stitch, which I will be doing a video on also, the yarn must always be in front of the needles and therefore closest to you. Just a quick tip about when you take your yarn through the V shape created by the needles. Just make sure that it doesn't hang loosely above that V shape, but instead slips between the needles like so. Once you have finished knitting the entire row, all you have to do to carry on to the next row is swap the needles between your hands. You will notice that the tail end of the yarn is now at the bottom and therefore will keep out of your way. To knit the next row, all you have to do is carry on exactly the same technique as the previous row. And that concludes my demonstration of the knit stitch. Now on to the garter stitch. Garter stitch refers to the stitch created when you do row after row of knit stitch and only knit stitch. As you can see, it gives a recognisable wavy patterned finish. Each wave, or ridge as most people call them, is made up of 2 rows of knit stitch. As you can see, the wavy pattern is on both sides, making this a reversible stitch. Therefore, garter stitch is great for scarves and other projects where you'll view both sides of the knit. Thanks very much for watching.